anything. Oh, you put in my eye.
Back.
Okay, everybody, so my best performing videos happen to be the worst episodes of Cartoon Network. See, leaving on that kind of a negative note isn't super fun, so I kind of wanted to counteract this karma and do the best episodes of Cartoon Network shows. When I was complaining about all these shows, I kept forgetting how good they were, and that even the worst episodes weren't even that bad. So that's why I feel like I want to make a video that's saying all the best episodes, the ones I recommend, and kind of make it more personal to myself, so that way you guys know what's going on. So today we're going to be diving in to Camp Lazlo, regular show, and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, not in that order. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000. And today, we're diving into the best Cartoon Network episodes. Okay, so first let's start off with a really popular one. No, not Adventure Time, but Regular Show. So Regular Show is that sci-fi comedy about Mordecai and Rigby, and pretty much their job is just working as like park attendants, but everything explodes into supernatural consequences when things go wrong, and it's a really jaw-dropping show, I would say. Since I don't have a lot of experience with this, I did my research and I tried to find the one that the fans would recommend the most. And this one was so funny, and the episode premise was so interesting. And unlike the format wars I mentioned in the last video, this is a perfect representation of this show. So let's get into Eggscellent. So Mordecai and Rigby are watching an action show when the actor flips a car in every episode. Benson interrupts, urging them to work, but just as Mordecai turns off the TV, a commercial for the Eggscellent challenge catches Rigby's attention.
Challenge appear with the ability to blow everyone away. The Eggscellent challenge is that challenge. 12 eggs, chili, cheese, biscuits, and a fruit ball. Finish in under an hour and your party eats for free.
Challenge offers a trucker hat reading, "I'm excellent," to anyone who could finish a massive 12-egg omelet. Obsessed with the hat, Rigby convinces the reluctant Mordecai to visit the restaurant. They go to the restaurant and Rigby orders the omelet despite the warnings from the waiter.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend the Eggscellent challenge. It's more of a promotional item.
I'm confused. I'm the customer, right?
Well, yes.
What does that sign say over there?
However, his attempt ends in disaster when he suffers a severe allergic reaction to the eggs and is rushed to the hospital. In the ambulance, a weak Rigby admits that he thought eating quickly would lessen the reaction, claiming the hat was worth it.
Did I win it?
Dude, you didn't even come close.
At the hospital, the doctor informs everyone that Rigby is in a coma and might not survive, so Benson criticizes Mordecai and Rigby for their irresponsibility. This obviously enrages Mordecai. He punches Benson, accusing him of prioritizing work over Rigby's life. After storming out, Mordecai returns to the restaurant and begs for the hat, but the waiter refuses, citing that it's not the policy. Mordecai panics and promises to win the hat for Rigby. So Mordecai heads back to the restaurant where the waiter gives the same threat he did to Rigby, but you know, his friend's dying, so he's gonna do it anyway. He attempts to try the omelet, but it does not work out, and he fails once again.
Forget this place.
Back at the hospital, Benson apologizes for his earlier comments and brings Skips with him.
A long time ago, I knew a guy by the name of Jonathan Kimball. He used to work at the park, and just like Rigby, he was obsessed with the hat.
Jonathan Kimball, a former park worker obsessed with the same challenge. He also developed a strategy to win, but disappeared before he could prove it. So Skips and Benson present Kimball's journal, which details his methods, crumble the biscuits into water, and divide the omelet into manageable chunks. Mordecai, determined to keep his promise, decides to try again. He trains with the journal's tips and returns to the restaurant with the park crew. Apologizing to Benson for his earlier outburst, Mordecai admits that Benson is actually a good friend despite his flaws. Mordecai begins the challenge using Kimball's methods. The waiter recognizes the technique, tries to stop him, but the park crew defends Mordecai, leading to a brawl with the restaurant staff. But then he finishes the omelet on time. But the waiter reveals that completing the challenge unlocks a final test. Oh my gosh. Mordecai is teleported to a room.
You have made it to the final test of the Eggscellent challenge. Choose your prize, but take heed, for if you choose incorrectly, you will die.
And is greeted by the Eggscellent Knight, an elderly man in armor. The knight explains that Mordecai must choose the correct hat to survive, and picking the wrong one will result in death, like what happened to Jonathan Kimball. Recalling Rigby's description of the trucker hat, Mordecai selects it and survives. The knight congratulates him and sends him back to the restaurant. Finally at the hospital, Mordecai places the hat on Rigby, who miraculously wakes up from his coma and thanks him. However, Rigby immediately spots a new commercial advertising for another eating challenge, and he says they should do it. Benson wonders if removing the hat will put Rigby back in the coma, and Mordecai jokingly suggests to test the theory. The episode ends with everyone approaching Rigby to remove the hat, leaving him screaming in protest. See, this one is really fun. I did a little bit of research on it, and it's definitely one of the best examples of the format of regular show. It has everything from the mundane goal of the main character that escalates into ridiculous scenarios. Like even having Rigby in a coma and then finding the journal of the deceased person. Like this is all crazy stuff, but regular show does it super well. Even the final test being so ridiculously hard manages to take it to a whole new level. I definitely really liked this episode, and I feel like if I had to get anybody into regular show, I would definitely show them this one. But yes, regular show always ceases to amaze me. I'm really gonna have to start diving deep into the show myself and watching the series in general. So now let's get on to a more obscure show. I recently did a retrospective on the finale of this show and had a lot of people requesting more videos on it. Yeah, Camp Lazlo. Camp Lazlo is about the monkey Lazlo that goes to Bean Scout camp at Camp Kidney, and it's a really funny, optimistic show with this quirky monkey and his times by the lakes in the summer. So the episode I really wanted to point out of being one of the best for this show is Hello Summer, Goodbye Camp, Season 3, Episode 1, or the end of Season 2. I had trouble figuring out exactly which production order this was on. So let's dive into Hello Summer, Goodbye Camp. So the Bean Scouts return to Camp Kidney for summer again. On their way, they sing the camp's song. But as they get to camp, Slinkman stops the bus and everybody realizes that Camp Kidney is no more. They even find only the mess hall left, but even that's taken away. Slinkman tries to argue with the movers, but they take him along with the other stuff and check him off on a clipboard. Lazlo begs for the jelly bean cabin totem pole because it's the last thing of Camp Kidney remaining. But the movers move on and tell him that the place is going to be a parking lot after the 4th of July.
Somebody call the cops!
Then Jane Doe comes in an acorn-shaped car and decides to bring the Bean Scouts to Acorn Flats, in which she explains that now that Camp Kidney is closed down, they'll be sent to another camp. The Acorn Scouts are super upset, specifically Patsy because of Lazlo. It soon becomes night, and the Bean Scouts discuss how much they miss Camp Kidney. The only one who doesn't miss it's Edward, surprise. Meanwhile, Lazlo goes over to Acorn Flats by himself. A giant bean comes out to tell Lazlo how to save Camp Kidney.
I have to figure out a way to save my camp now.
I know how to save your camp.
You do?
Sure.
Well, can you tell me?
Sure.
And tells him the only way is to go into the woods, find the Rock of Hope, and the worldwide Bean Scout Jamboree. So Lazlo wakes up and is convinced it's all a dream. He explains his plan to the fellow campers, while everybody else wants to join Edward, but Raj and Clam obviously are on Lazlo's side. Lazlo, Raj, and Clam are seen going to the top of a hill and get a water break. Raj then drops the overpacked backpack on the edge as the dead miners logging chute to get the Rock of Hope. Meanwhile, the other campers at Acorn Flats keep talking about how this camp is going to be great, and this really fun camp that they're all excited about. Edward sees that it's actually math camp, so he led them astray. Meanwhile, the jelly beans are seen on the chute and just about to finish until the plank breaks and Clam's toes hold onto the end of the plank. Lazlo soon helps, but Clam falls off. Patsy comes in swinging on a rope and rescues the two.
You're okay.
I heard a couple of Bean Scouts were trying to save Camp Kidney, and I thought they might need some help.
Patsy says that the rock is right over there, but Lazlo soon discovers that it's just a bunch of pebbles. Soon finds the rock, but it's a plaque. The worldwide Bean Scout Jamboree is seen, and the four try to get in, but a French snail doesn't let them.
Hey, what's with the pink-haired scout?
He's from France.
From France? I'm from France!
Okay, come in quick, but don't touch anything.
The snail lets them in and takes them to the Big Bean's palace. Back at Acorn Flats, Edward is worried that they're all going to math camp, so he has a dream about being chased by numbers, and it's the same place that Lazlo had his dream, so it's kind of funny.
Lazlo?
Hi, Edward. If you want to help me save Camp Kidney, Listen carefully.
A giant Lazlo head actually emerges and tells Edward how to save Camp Kidney. Lazlo soon finds the bean and hears deep breathing and soon bangs on the glass to break it. It's revealed the magnifying glass that the bean is super small and even wears a similar hat to what Lumpus wears. Lazlo talks to the bean, who says that this was his cousin.
Can I say how happy I am to finally meet you? Outside of my dreams, that is. You're much smaller in person.
What?
Bean says that he closed down Camp Kidney because of the camp's bad parts, like the uniforms. But Raj cries and Lazlo gives him a handkerchief to wipe his tears. Everybody starts crying and it's kind of depressing.
There is something written on the inside of your neckerchief.
Oh yeah, that was there.
A wonderland where summer runs free.
Where I laughed and I played while my good parents paid to let their child come of age and be me.
The Big Bean explains that he wrote it when he went to Camp Kidney, and Lazlo gives it back to him. The Bean smiles at Lazlo, Patsy, and Clam. Meanwhile, Edward and the other Bean Scout and Squirrel Scouts are at the gate of Camp Kidney.
I know this sounds crazy, but I had a dream last night that told me to gather everyone at the gate, and then I'll get what I most desire. I hope it's a voodoo drum.
And a horn is heard. Lazlo, Raj, and Clam all come by on trucks bringing back parts of the camp. The Big Bean congratulates Lazlo, Raj, Clam, and Patsy for their bravery and reopened Camp Kidney.
And for you, Lazlo, a new neckerchief.
Property of HMD. Who's HMD?
Why, it's hand-me-down.
He then gives it to Lazlo with a new handkerchief that says property of HMD, which means hand-me-down. They laugh and the fireworks are set off while they reveal that Lumpus just wakes up after having fallen asleep since the song at the beginning of the episode.
Won't they ever tear this camp down?
Hey, how's it going?
This episode is really fun because it's like, this is definitely what Where's Lazlo should have been, but I like this because it's like, it has a little bit of adventure, has a little bit of antagonism, and I think Patsy's a really welcome addition to this special. If you want to check out a really good episode of Camp Lazlo, this is definitely the one. But yeah, Lazlo is a really great show, and I always forget how closely connected it is to SpongeBob. I would definitely recommend it enough. Welcome summer, goodbye camp. Okay, let's move on to our final one for this video. One of the most popular shows, for good reason, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. So Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is that show. Don't really need to get into the plot of it because it's in the title. The episode I think is the most perfect to define the show, not only for my own personal bias, because this is my favorite episode. I actually ignored the online recommendations. This one is the funniest. So it's called Frankie My Dear. Let's talk about how it goes. So Frankie is told by Mr. Harriman to do a bunch of paperwork, which she's obviously really upset about because she'd rather go to a concert she wanted to go to with her friends. Mac, who happens to be at Foster's as well, offers to take care of all the paperwork for Frankie and encourage her to go to the concert. Frankie tries to politely decline Mac's offer, but she ends up taking it, overjoyed, and decides to kiss Mac on the cheek. As she rushes off to go to her concert, Mac develops a huge crush on Frankie. Later, Blue does too.
You're just a kid. Frankie needs a man.
You're not even a human.
Yeah, but I'm not a kid.
You're younger than me.
Yeah, but I'm not a kid. What's 5 times 7?
35. But you're not a dog.
Yeah, but I'm not a kid.
So the two start actually competing for her love the next day, and Frankie is unusually happy from the previous night, mentioning how she met the man of her dreams. Soon, they both argue over who that could possibly be, and they realize that the suitor is neither of them and become super jealous. Next, a pizza guy shows up, and Blue and Mac assume that it's this person they're talking about.
Neither one of us is a match for this perfect specimen of manliness.
My bad.
They're interrupted when it's not true, and Prince Charming, an imaginary friend, comes in, and they think it's them. Suddenly, like, they keep ganging up on the next guy that is potentially Frankie's love, and everybody keeps thinking it's them.
I stole her heart.
Yeah, man, she was ours before you came around.
You mean she likes me?
Am I speaking French? She is in love with you!
No! Now look what you've done!
But eventually Dylan, this really nerdy guy that actually looks her age and appropriate for her, shows up. And it turns out that that's the one she's gonna go on a date with.
Are we just gonna stand by and let our beloved Frankie get stolen away by some boy band looking nice car driving bouquet of roses bringing pretty boy?
Right.
Right. Wait. I mean, no.
No!
So Mac, Blue, Chris, and Prince Charming start to form a team and plan to become Frankie's new boyfriend, which of course is going to end perfect. The plan involves all of them standing on each other's shoulders, wearing a huge overcoat to make it look like they're really one tall person. And Blue is at the top, which is already the biggest mistake. He wears a mustache, and a lot of these jokes are super funny because he's so bad at keeping it together. And Prince Charming comes in disguised as a woman. And I really like Prince Charming like this. It definitely feels right. So they try to make a fool of the date that Frankie's going out with, but Frankie obviously knows it's Blue, and it's a ridiculous disguise, but she doesn't really know what's up.
I'm Frankie's ex-boyfriend.
No, you're not. No, he's not.
Why, schnookums! How could you deny our love? We went out for 20 years.
How old did you say you were?
I'm 22.
Prince Charming keeps trying to take Frankie aside and powder their noses and try to get closer to her, which is actually a deviation of the plan, but whatever. And Blue actually confronts Dylan. Dylan pulls the disguise off, and it turns out he's kind of a jerk. Like, he is aggressive and he's forward, and all the funny jokes are kind of over because this is a real jerk. He claims that Frankie is his property, and she doesn't like Mac, Blue, or any of the other ones. She just feels sorry for them. And then he starts to be really rude to all three of them, saying that nobody would go out with them, and this guy's a real big jerk. But luckily, Frankie overhears all of these insults as she comes back from the powder room and angrily confronts Dylan about everything he just said to her friends. He tries to hide what he did, and it's really terrible, and Frankie actually beats him up. Not only did she beat up Prince Charming, which, I mean, that one might have been fair. Actually, both of them seem pretty fair. In the end, Frankie and the guys are eating pizza at Foster's, and they talk about the way Frankie beat up Dylan, while everybody kind of apologizes to Frankie for ruining her date, but Frankie assures them that they did her a huge favor, and since then she doesn't need a boyfriend, and she's looking for a man, and all of them say that they're not men.
I'm not a man. I'm an imaginary man.
I'm not a man. I'm a teenager.
I'm not a man. I'm just a kid.
Hey, I can beat that. I'm not even human.
Oh, man.
This is one of my favorite episodes of all time, just because all the jokes with Blue as the tall man are just so funny, and they take so long to occur, but like, that's what makes it so brilliant. I'm now realizing that a lot of the main cast members of Imaginary Friends aren't really in this episode, but you know, it only really takes Blue and Mac to have a really good episode, and Frankie is one of the more likable characters because of everything the cast puts her through, and I think it's the perfect amount of time for such an easy episode to occur. But overall, love this episode. You guys definitely need to watch this, and I would recommend it if anybody wants to see a good episode of Foster's. But yeah, that is definitely my favorite episode of Foster's Home. But yeah, do you guys remember this episode? Do you remember how good it was? There's so many good episodes of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends that it was really hard to pick this exact one, but since this is Johnny 2000, I thought I would pick the one most personal to me. So yeah, these are the best episodes of these Cartoon Network shows. I had so much fun going over these with you guys, and stay tuned because Volume 2 is going to be coming out very soon, and we're going to be diving more into the Powerpuff Girls, Chowder, and Flapjack. Maybe I'll throw in another one too. So until next time, don't forget to keep up with your 2000s nostalgia by watching Johnny 2000. Have a great day.